Hi, we're here in the front yard of the Children's Home of Northern Kentucky. I'm going to be interviewing Gary Auffart. He's Fire Chief of Fort Mitchell, but he's also got a very great project called River Cities Relay he's going to tell us about too. Here today on People of Northern Kentucky. Welcome, Gary, to People of Northern Kentucky.
Thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it.
Well, we just want to find out a little bit about you. Obviously, you are the fire chief here, fire chief of Fort Mitchell. But first, let's start with a little bit of your history, where you're from, where you grew up, your family, and then how you ended up here in Northern Kentucky.
Okay, sounds good. I grew up in Mount Washington, and then shortly thereafter moved to Anderson Township. So I went to Anderson High School, and I graduated from Anderson High School in 1993. So my family was all kind of there with my brother. My brother went to Anderson with me, and we went to Guardian Angels for grade school, and we transferred out of Guardian Angels at 7th grade because it was the first year that Anderson had the 7th and 8th grade integrated in with the high school, which was a really big experience because it was something new, you know, being in 7th grade with high schoolers. So, so that was a good experience. And then after high school, I decided to try college. I went to UC for a little bit of time, and I found out college wasn't really for me at that time. So I knew that my passion was the fire service. My dad was a fireman. He was a fireman in Cincinnati for 28 years, and he retired as assistant chief. So I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps in the fire service. So I was looking for jobs in the fire service, and there was a job that came up in Newport, Kentucky. And I applied for that job, and I ended up getting that job. And that's kind of what brought me to Northern Kentucky, because at the time when I got hired there, you had to be a resident of Kentucky. So that was really my first experience that brought me across the river. So I grew up in Anderson, and actually when we were kids, we used to always go to Newport when All About Sports and Van Loonen's were there. So it was really easy for us to go down and get on 471 and go to those stores instead of going to the Beachmont Mall. So I had a little bit of experience with the city of Newport. So that's kind of where I got started in the fire service, again, following my dad's footsteps. And after he was in the city, he actually retired and went to Eastgate, Union Township, Claremont County for another 15 years. Oh, wow. So he's been in the fire service for a long time, so it was kind of my passion. So when I say college wasn't really for me, I think that my parents both knew that, you know, I was eventually going to be in the fire service, and it was just kind of one of those experiences that I had to go out and do and say, you know, I went to college, it didn't really work out, but, you know, the fire service was good to me, so. But it brought me to Kentucky is what it did.
And here you still are.
Here I still am, yeah. So when I started in Newport, it was a kind of a different experience. I grew up in Anderson Township, so going to Newport was a little culture shock for me, going to a city versus being in the suburbs. So, so that was a good experience for me in Newport. It was a busy fire department, and you know that's been over 20 years ago that I started it in the city of Newport. So I moved up through the ranks in the city of Newport, the fire department there, and I made lieutenant, I made captain, I eventually made chief. So I was the fire chief there for 2.5 years. And then after I left the fire chief there, I became the fire chief in Fort Mitchell for the last 1.5 years, and became the first full-time paid fire chief for the city of Fort Mitchell.
Oh, okay.
So I also worked there part-time for 18 years. You know, total at the department, I've been there 18 years, but I worked there for 16 years before I became the chief. Two of my brothers also become a fireman, and he's been a fireman for quite a few years at Union Township, Claremont County, and he worked there with my dad before my dad ended up retiring a second time. So my brother's a lieutenant at the Union Township, Claremont County Fire Department, so it really runs in our family.
It really does.
Yeah. So my mom's a saint because she has to deal with you know, 3 firemen in the family. You know, she's a saint for dealing with all that and worrying all the time about what we're doing. So
doesn't just have one person to worry about; it's got 3.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So we always say she's a saint. So that's kind of my experience with the fire service, and it's been my love, my passion, and really made me really appreciate Northern Kentucky even more about being in the fire service, because you're kind of tied to the community where you work. And you know, being a fire chief, it allows you to be out in the community and be active in the community.
Yes, I see pictures of you doing things in the communities.
Yeah, and I really didn't realize, you know, when I interviewed for the job, you know, you talk about being part of the community, and that's what you want to do. But I think it's really getting out and being active in the community and see where you can help in the community. Because there's so many different aspects that are out there in the community, the schools, you know, the community itself, the social services, all those things are just different areas that you can do so much help. And it's hard not to spread yourself thin and to be active in as many places as you can. So that was my first experience being out and active in the community. And it kind of carried over into Fort Mitchell, and now we started a community garden at the city of Fort Mitchell with the Live Well. So we've got that there. So we're trying to be healthy and have a healthy lifestyle, which, you know, I like to have a good healthy lifestyle. So
well, leading into that, I have also seen a lot of photos of you in almost every imaginable kind of race and relay possible. Tell me a little bit how you got into that.
So I think as I got older and I saw, you know, how important it is to be healthy, I needed some type of motivation. So my motivation is races. Competition, yes. So endurance races, obstacle course races, and all those races. And it's kind of funny how it all started out. You know, I started running 5Ks and, you know, the shorter races, and it's just kind of like you want more. And, you know, I've gotten to work out with a great group of people at Tri-State Running and at Town and Country, and it's almost like becomes your second family. We've traveled to Michigan, we've traveled to Nashville to do Tough Mudder races. As groups, this last Tough Mudder in Kentucky, we just had 32 people on our team to compete, you know, and that's a pretty difficult race, and it's, you know, 13 miles, but it's more about the team and the camaraderie and getting people through and getting people motivated to get out and exercise and be healthy. You know, because you only live life once, and I'm going to live it to the fullest. And, you know, I'm going to train for an Ironman triathlon next year. So it's tough, but it's the motivation to get out there and do it. You know, not many people go out and do those things. So those are things I really enjoy doing.
That makes it easier having a team or a family.
It does. And actually, my girlfriend Casey, she's a runner too, and I've kind of talked her into doing a lot of these races. So she's doing the races with me now too. So it's kind of something that we kind of do together as a couple, and it really works out well for us. And you know, she did her first triathlon a couple weeks ago, and she's starting to like the sport too. So
well, good.
Yeah,
it seems like you're going to keep doing it.
So so it's been great.
And I think I even saw you did like a 50K or
yeah, her and
like
we actually finished a 50K together and a 50K trail race. So it's just, you know, mentally and physically, it's very demanding, and it really puts you out of your comfort zone and really gets you doing things that you didn't ever think you could do.
Well, because of your background in running and being so into running, I actually met you at Leadership Northern Kentucky.
Yes.
And we needed to do a big project. And so you're the one that brought that to the table. Let's do some kind of relay along the river cities. So can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I can.
How that evolved?
I can. So our leadership class, Leadership 2016, our class project was to do something in the community to give back to the community is really what it was about. So we came up with a relay race, the River Cities Relay, and our inaugural year we have 500 runners, and we ended up giving back $18,000 to 6 local charities. So the idea of the race was quite a few things actually. Each leg is about a 5K. So it's basically for anybody to go out and do. It's a fun race. Anybody who doesn't even run, you can get out and do some training and get active and get healthy. You know, St. Elizabeth Hospital has been our presenting sponsor for this year and last year, and it's going to be for next year too, because they see the need for healthier lifestyles in Kentucky, especially northern Kentucky. They're so active in the community. And this was something that they thought was really important. So one, it's about being healthy. Two, you can see what's right behind us here. You know, northern Kentucky has one of the best views of Cincinnati that there is. So that's something we really wanted to highlight, was the great view that we have here.
And the view we have right here is at the children's home.
Yes, the children's home, and they are one of our transition spots in our race. At the top of the VU, so it's one of the hardest parts of the race.
Yes.
So a lot of people have actually been fighting for that with their teams, because some people actually want to do the hill.
Yes.
And basically they want to do the hill, they come up here and see this great view that's up here.
Gorgeous.
And you know, you can learn about the children's home when you're up here at our transition spot and kind of what they do for the community. And you know, they were one of the charities that we represented last year, and what we wanted to do is really with our race also give back to the community. So last year we gave to 6 charities. This year we're going to give to three local charities, because we want to do something that gives back to Northern Kentucky. And I think most important, you know, we wanted something that was Northern Kentucky, that was a race for Northern Kentucky, and what better race to represent the river cities.
Yes.
And that's what our race will do. And eventually, once the Riverfront Commons Trail goes in, we'll take on that whole trail. That'll
Go into that a little bit more. What do you mean about the trail?
So the Riverfront Commons is a trail that will go from Fort Thomas to Silver Grove, or from Fort Thomas to Ludlow. And it'll run all along the river, and it's right now it's being constructed. There's several parts that are completed. There's parts in Newport. There's going to be parts in Bellevue, Dayton, all the way to Fort Thomas, and then Covington and Ludlow. So once that's done, it'll be about 11.5 mile, basically a walking paved trail.
See, that's awesome. Can you do bikes on it?
Yeah.
So you'll be able to bike, to rollerblade, to run along that 11.
Yeah, and you'll be able to see this beautiful view,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to be in Northern Kentucky, you know, and on this side of the great big ocean that separates. But we want to get past that ocean.
Right,
you know, we
right.
want to be
Some
more
people think that.
we want to be more regional, obviously.
Yes,
but you
yes.
know, we talk about the great big ocean that separates us, and we want to try and get over that. So that was another reason for our race, was kind of promote regionalism. That we are Northern Kentucky, but this is a region, and we wanted to try and highlight that yes, we are Northern Kentucky, but we do have this great view over here, and we do have a lot of things going on in this side of the river.
And the River Cities relay actually goes along that where the path is actually going to be.
Yeah, so
it all connects together.
Yeah, it currently, because it's not constructed yet, we kind of take it through the main part of Bellevue, so it goes right down Fairfield Avenue, it goes right down through Dayton, where Manhattan Harbor is, comes back through, goes back through Newport, and back into Covington and up to the VU, and then you end back in Newport, where there'll be an after party down.
It's a great party.
Right there in front of where Newport on the Levee is will be the party. So we'll have a band there, and that's what we wanted. Our race is kind of unique because it is a night race. So when you do finish, you'll come right into the after party, and you'll be able to take in the beautiful view of downtown.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like to say that it's a party with a race attached.
Yeah, it is. It's a great event altogether, and you know, we're hoping it's going to grow this year, and in years to come, we're hoping it's really going to grow big.
Yeah. Well, so you've been in Northern Kentucky now for many years.
Many years, yes.
So what is your favorite thing about Northern Kentucky?
So, you know, we talk about exercise, and, you know, I actually went to Anderson, so, you know, it's the east side versus the west side, and, you know, we kind of hate to talk about that. But, you know, when I came to Northern Kentucky, it's not like that, you know. I think it's more of a family, and everyone knows everyone. No matter where I go, there's somebody that I know that I've met in Northern Kentucky. And I mean, really, even this area is like such family, and everyone's so close. But you know, I really do like races, and I like working out, and I talk about that being my second family. And we run the bridges all the time downtown, and just the beauty of the area, and I think how safe it is for us to go, you know, we go run even in downtown Cincinnati, and you come back to Northern Kentucky. So, you know, but I love the view here. You know, everyone talks about Mount Adams and the great area and the great view, but I mean, this is really the great view on this.
I think we have the best
we
view.
do have we do have the best view, but you know, I've got to meet so many people in Northern Kentucky that have been so great. I mean, our Leadership Northern Kentucky class, it was just a great experience to be out in the community and see, you know, what this community does give back to everyone. I mean, it's amazing what they do in Northern Kentucky. You know, and even my brother, you know, we were both raised in Ohio. My brother lives about 5 minutes from me, you know, in Lakeside Park, so he lives really close to me. So my parents are the only ones who haven't come over yet. So
maybe you can still talk about
yeah, so it's kind of funny how, you know, we both kind of moved over to Kentucky after growing up in Ohio. So, and we're so close to each other now.
Oh,
So I just love the family aspect of Northern Kentucky.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and interviewing with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today. Every Thursday at 10 a.m., get to know your neighbor by catching a new edition of People of Northern Kentucky.